Okay, class. So I just want to give you some info here on how this sort of activity is going to work. It's not really an activity right now. We're going to put it together more in class when I see you next week. But the goal here is sort of just like your assignment yesterday. You just want to go through each of these. I know there's 48 of them, so it's kind of a long list, but it shouldn't take long for the majority of these problems. You're just going to go through and you're going to decide what they are. So you're going to want to write down on a sheet of paper. So plot a piece of paper, number it 1 through 48 or whatever. And you'll look at it. So you'll even get some answers here. So for example, when you look at number one only has an exponent of 1. Now it says f of x, but remember f of x and y are interchangeable, so that doesn't matter, right? So this one would be linear. As opposed to, maybe we go down to number 3, which has an exponent of 2. Then we would be saying that number 3 is quadratic. Okay, so you'll go through and you'll qualify these. So some of these have a little bit more thought, but we talked about explaining these, right? So for example, number 9 is talking about a constant rate. We specifically said that a constant rate is talking about the fact that it's linear. Whereas if we're seeing something change by a percent, right, then we're saying that it's exponential. So you already have 4 done for you. Okay, with the tables, you're going to do the exact same info we looked at yesterday. Now, some of these are going to be more tricky where you're going to see some decimals. So you're going to have to think through, even use a calculator to see what you add by, or use a calculator to see what the fractions are. Okay, so think about that. Okay, you'll go through and you'll classify each of those. Remember that these tables could be representing anything. So a hint that I'll give you is that maybe if they're representing money, that decimal might be rounded a little bit. So if when you're counting the space in between or seeing if it has a common factor, if it's off by just a tiny, tiny bit, okay, that might be due to rounding. So that might be something you want to consider, right? And then you'll have graphs that you want to qualify, right? If it looks like a line, we say it's linear. If it looks like a parabola, we say it's quadratic. And if it has a swoop, like maybe 32, right? This has a swoop, so we say that this is exponential. Okay, and then once you've made your whole list, I did that all wrong. Once you've made your whole list, okay, then you'll go into the assignment for today, where you will just drag each appropriate card into its corresponding spot. Okay, so when you log into Canvas and you open up the assignment, let me pull this off. We have an announcement. We're just going to ignore it. But if you look here at this last thing on here, okay, so when you're here and you're actually looking at this assignment, you'll just pick each card and drag it into the appropriate place. So if card number 42, so you look at the activity, see what 42 is, right? 42 is a U, so that's a quadratic. So then you will drag the card number 42 into being a quadratic.